Hello, in this tutorial, we are going to see new functions that we can use by the famous CAD software SolidWorks. So, we are going to start from a part that has already been done. We see the part here called screed. So, still we see the name of the file registered at the top of the upper bar, the upper menu bar of the software. So there you have it, it's called screed in English, but the actual name is in French, shop. We will also talk a lot more about the menu at the left of software interface, which all the operations we made for piece are registered there for any modifications or some errors need fixing or so. This is we call Feature Manager is very useful during part design. The Feature Manager will allow us to build the different functions one by one. Of course, we start with the base, then we is passed to a central boss. Each time we click on an icon of the Feature Manager, we see that the 3D shape will be colored in blue. That is to explain in the graphic area, this is not linked. So the names of course are not software ones, but they are personalized names. We need to personalize names for more clarity and for facilitate finding different forms and shapes of part even if it contains more than dozen items. Generally we keep native names, so don't lose time renaming features. We will see later how we change the names of the different operations after built and registered in the Feature Manager. As you see, we can put the mouse just at the bottom of the last function, which is here. Material Removal Revolution 1. And then we click and drag, that is to say we see a blue bar which we can move upwards and go up to the first function that we created, which is the base. All the other functions, we no longer see them, but they are grayed out. They are not currently available. This is what we started with, it is with a boss called base that I subsequently called base. We can also see, click on this arrow to see sketch 1. I click again, I click on edit sketch. We can edit the sketch. Place yourself facing the sketch by clicking on normal to or Ctrl 8 as shortcut. Here is the first sketch, rather the first sketch that we traced. As you see, it is a rectangle 100 mm by 48 mm. Of course, it was anchored with the origin from that point. For reasons that we will have later. Therefore, once. If, for example, I want to change quotes, all you have to do is click on the quote twice. And then you can change the value at any time. Here, we're not going to change. So I'm going to proceed for leave. And then, 2, we can leave there or approve what we have changed. Since we haven't changed anything, we can leave. The software will show us this message, ignore the changes and exit. Yes, we will ignore it and we will find our boss, our base. Let's return to an isometric perspective. We can then see the central boss we started to make. We instead made a half-cylindrical boss. We reasoned about the symmetry of the part, then bossing, a clearance, a bearing. So, zoom in to see everything, etc. Be attentive how I proceed. For our case we can see boss, here. Bearing clearance, fillet. Bearing boss. So, each time, there is a function that appears. For the bearing, for example, if we go back a little and open the sketch. Sketch 4 as you see. We open it. We position ourselves. Or rather, we ask for an isometric perspective. We see very clearly that the sketch was made in a plane which is not the plane where the part began. That is to say, material. What did we do there? We traced a sketch in the plane, as you observe. It is the front plane. We traced the sketch in the front plane. And then we extruded. If I approve what was done in C, edit the bearing. Now edit the boss of the bearing. And see what we did exactly. What we did is we traced the sketch here, in the front plane, and then we offset it of 20 millimeters. Here are the 20 millimeters. So, here, I want say, from the sketch to there, it is 20 millimeters. And then, we made a thickness. Be aware, a blind thickness, of 10 millimeters. So here, we find a 10 millimeters and here is our bearing. It was done. This way, same reasoning for the others. The whole half of the piece or part has been done up to this point. Up to the central axis. Everything was done up to the central axis. And then, we made, which I called the half cope, it's the symmetry of the part. And then, we finished a few other fillets. So, fillet 1, the fillet there, fillet 1, there is fillet 2. And then, basic drilling, the 4 drillings that we see. And then finally, a removal of material. I can still take this opportunity to invite you to subscribe to the channel. Then thanks for subscribing. The removal of material, which we notice from the bottom, it's this removal. Observe that when I click on this material removal. Also in the Feature Manager, the material removal evolution 1 becomes in color blue. Earlier, I told you that we can change the name each time. So, we click on the icon, the writing, that is to say the text, here of the icon, in front of the icon. We click twice, separated by 2 seconds like that, once, twice. And it becomes highlighted and I can change the name there each time. So, material removal, I can call it. Let's say, lower bore. So bore. Lower bore. And there you go. And I click somewhere, anywhere. Let's return to one of the perspectives. You see here that we can also display several types of perspectives. There is the isometric. There is the perspective, let's say, dimetric. There has the trimetric perspective. Each perspective has reduction coefficients according to the 3 directions of space. And a certain angle of representation. You see here that the angles, i.e. between x, y, z, and z-x, returns to isometric perspective, so look at the angles, they are each equal to 120, and not 60 as I said. On the other hand, for dimetric and trimetric, they are not the same. For the dimetric, there are 2 equal angles. For the trimetric, each angle is different from the other. So, we can also use the Feature Manager for other modifications. Example, we can go up to a certain level, up to here, up to the bearing and do other operations. If you have any suggestions or any questions, not hesitate to notice them on the comments, all comments are welcome. For example, we can call on other operations. Suppose, we want to make a chamfer there. Click chamfer. Choose 3 mm at 45 degrees for example there. And click OK. Then afterwards, we can raise the rest. And here is our part as you see. Of course, there is a small problem. It is this fillet is no longer suitable because we have a chamfer. Or remove it now. Or make other modifications. If you want to hide it, delete it. You can delete it this way. Or delete it using the keyboard. Delete it permanently. Good job, isn't it? Now we will learn you another modification that you can do with the Feature Manager. It is very interesting function. This is simply correspond to choose the material of part. We click on the right on material. Material not specified. If the material appears in the list, then of course, we click on the appropriate material. Our material in our case is in alloy 1060. You will learn as you use SolidWorks. There's a lot of materials in the SolidWorks library we can use and modify at any moment. The software give us the following description. The appearance of this material is different from the existing appearance. Do you want to link the display states to the configurations in order to show the appearance in each configuration? So I'm clicking on yes. Okay. That's at a 1060 alloy. As at any time, you can change the material you can choose, for example, non-alloy steel. If now the material does not appear in the list, you have to go to Edit Material. There is a whole box that appears displays and we choose the appropriate material. We choose a stainless steel or other materials. We apply and then we close and there it is written here stainless steel. I must tell you that SolidWorks has a library of materials and we can personalize our library and so. Now, we have just finished this tutorial, so please no hesitate to comment any unclear item. Thanks for following along. See you next times in other tutorials or lessons.